Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. For a rescheduled version, this was obviously supposed to happen last week, but we had some unavoidable conflicts. So I appreciate everybody joining us again this Monday morning. On with us, we have Dave.
Morning, everyone. I'm Dave Gordon. I'm the East Coast Regional Sales Manager. Should you need anything from the Mississippi East, please feel free to reach out to me, as well as Canada East, from basically Michigan straight up through the great country of Canada. Anything east of that, just let me know if I can help you.
And we also have Larry, whom you're going to hear a lot from here shortly. Larry, you want to introduce yourself?
Morning. Yeah, morning. I'm Larry Barnes. I'm the Tech Support Manager in South Lake.
And I appreciate Larry taking some time to get everything put together. Today, we're going to go over our AC links, which is a feature built into our AXTRAX NG software that not only allows you to provide a great solution for your customer, but also hopefully gives you an opportunity to have some additional revenue streams. Some of the custom programming you're able to easily do inside AC links you can monetize that, and like I said, generate additional revenue. So without further ado, Larry, do you want to jump right in and take over?
All righty then.
And by the way, as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat here, and I'll be glad Dave and I will keep an eye on that. We'll be glad to answer as we come along.
All right. So as Greg said, I'm the tech support manager. I'm also doing quite a bit of training here since we're all cooped up at home. So I've put together a presentation today specifically on the AC links. And AC links are used it's a provision in the AXTRAX NG software to allow you to do some simple automations and customizations with rules. So for instance, one of the most common is the automatic door operation. Put a door on a timer where you don't have to use your card on it. Output toggle, that's another popular one, where you can have a particular specific code or card that you can swipe and toggle a door open indefinitely. Great for loading areas and things of that nature. Global lockdown. Now this is still kind of in development, but we can on a single panel, especially if it's a smaller system, we can set up an AC link to allow you to lock down any doors that are currently open on a schedule, and also to disable readers or change the status of readers. I'll go into more on that in a minute. Redirecting readers. This is a little trick for comes in handy when you've got a panel that's configured for one reader per door, but you have one door on the panel, so one out of 6 or 7 that needs read in, read out. Well, we can do that with an AC link. And then the last one I'm going to show is integrating an ADA operator. So basically, we'll enable the ADA operator to open the door only when the door is unlocked. And very simply, we just run the button to the opener through an extra set of contacts on the board. There are some limits you have to keep in mind with AC links. The big one, and I'll discuss more in a minute, but you can only have one schedule driving a door. You cannot have the weekday schedule, the weekend schedule, the holiday schedule, things of that nature. You've got to develop one schedule for your door that encompasses all of that. There's also a maximum of 8 AC links referencing the same source. So if you have one input and you're trying to do 12 different things, we got a problem right there. We'd have to try and develop a workaround, because you can only do 8 individual AC links for one input, for instance. AC links in general do not work across multiple panels. So you can't have input 1 on panel 1 triggering door 4 on panel 3. The exception to that is we can, for a lockdown that's triggered by an input, we can do a lockdown across the network. However, the limitation there is that requires that your PC be up and running and communicating with all your panels. So I really don't recommend that for emergency situations, certainly not for fire and even for lockdown. You'd be far better served to run a pair of wires to each panel that's involved, and we build AC links for each panel, and that is much more sure. So jump into automatic operation, as I just said, allows you to set up a weekly schedule for opening or unlocking, I should say, a door with the option of first person delay. So if you've got it set up 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, nobody shows up, the door won't open at 8 o'clock unless somebody comes in and swipes, until someone comes in and swipes their card, enters their PIN code, etc. Great for inclement weather, quarantine like we are right now, etc. So basically you got three steps. One's optional. First, we're going to create the time zone, which I'm going to go through in a moment, and then you create the AC link. One AC link per door. You cannot do it on a group or anything like that. So to create a time zone, you're going to go to timing and time zones, hit the green plus, and that'll bring up an empty window here. You can give it a name that makes more sense, like weekdays, or if it's more than that, front door, if need be, whatever you want to call it. And you left click here at the top, drag your mouse button or drag your mouse down while holding the button, and you'll get that stack of rectangles there. Then you right click on any one of those and select create. It'll turn solid like this one. When you're all done, you hit OK. This is what it should look like for, this is 8 to 5, Monday through Friday here, okay? Now, a few warnings on time zones in particular, a few tricks. If you want to build something like a bell schedule for a school, what you can do is you come in here and you create a bunch of 30-minute segments roughly at the same start time, as close as you can get. Then you can right click on any one of those segments and you'll get a window that looks like this, and you can type in down to the minute the start and end time. So you can sync it up with your bell. I would recommend give it a little overlap, so because the bell system in this may or may not be in perfect sync. But you can develop a very intricate, you can have up to 16 per day. So it should be enough to cover most bell schedules. This is a no-no though. You have overlapping segments here. That ultimately will cause problems. It's one of those cases, it may work today, but it will not work all the time. Sooner or later, it'll cause an issue. And you can see here where I've done like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5, 30 minutes for lunch, etc. And then these out here were just where I was still building it. If you have a fixed holiday schedule, or let's say, again, going back to my school, you have days where you're going to have a modified schedule that is the same every time you use it. You can put that in on this 8th column out here, and then if you define a date as a holiday, it'll follow that alternate schedule. So if you have days where assembly days or something like that, where this whole schedule gets shifted, you can build that out here and just put those dates in and have it follow it. Any kind of questions, anything coming in on the time zones there, Greg? Okay.
I'm not seeing anything right now.
Okay. So once you've got your schedule built the way you want it, we're going to go to AC links, and this is the navigation to it. Just expand out AC networks and start hitting the pluses out here. And you get to AC links, come up to the top, hit the green plus, and it's going to pop a window up that looks like this. So for the automatic operation, you're going to select source type of output. And this seems kind of backwards, but trust me, it works. Your source will be the door that you want to put on the schedule. The event is automatic operation, and that's kind of a magic one because that fills in the whole destination over here for you. All you have to select, once you select automatic operation, all you have to do is come down here, select the time zone you want the door to follow, and hit OK. If you want to enable first person delay on that door also, then you come back in into doors, double click here in the left hand column or click edit on the door that you just created the AC link for, and just check this box. And keep in mind on first person delay, that means you've got to come by after the beginning of the schedule. So my schedule is 8 to 5. If I come in at 7 o'clock, the door will relock behind me. I've got to go back at 8 o'clock, swipe my card or enter my PIN code to unlock the door for the day, but it will then automatically lock up at 5 o'clock. So, output toggle. So output toggle allows you to set up a specific PIN code or card that can unlock the door permanently, and it'll stay unlocked. People can come by, swipe their cards or whatever, it'll ignore them until the toggle code is re-entered, then it'll go back to normal operation. This overrides any schedules, it overrides cards, etc. So do be careful with it, and be sure whoever's toggling it is going to be the last person out, or you can count on them still being there to close the door at night. You can have multiple people defined though. You just have to be careful with that one. So steps are very basic. You're going to create an AC link, which is going to look like this. Come into AC links. Your source in this case is going to be the reader. I just selected reader 1. The event will be access granted selected user, and I'll show you how that selected user comes into being next. Then your destination, here you do have to fill it in. So your destination panel will be the same panel, panel 1 in this case. Type is outputs. Destination is going to be the door or output that you're trying to toggle. And it doesn't have to be a door output. On a 225, for instance, or you have the 2 auxiliary relays at the bottom, or you can toggle those also. And this is one way of, you can arm and disarm an alarm. You can run those outputs over to an alarm input in place of a key switch and just toggle that other output off and on to arm and disarm your alarm. Operation will be toggle, and the schedule here, you can make that only valid during certain operating hours, or you can leave it at always, but it defaults to never, so you do have to set some time zone here, and then click OK. Now, whenever you present or enter the selected user credential, that door will toggle open. It'll stay that way until you enter it again to toggle it shut. To make a user a selected user is very simple. It's right down here at the bottom. Check this box that says access granted command, or yes, access granted command. Once you check that box, that makes them a selected user. And typically what we do is we'll use this on a door that has a PIN and prox reader on it. So you can have a PIN code, so multiple people can be aware of the code and use that to lock the door, lock and unlock. All right. Global lockdown is going to get a little more involved. You're going to create an output group first. You're going to define the doors you want to lock down. And again, when I say lockdown here, you can lock any doors that are currently unlocked on a schedule. You can also disable the readers, and I'll show you both steps, but it is 2 different sets of AC links, and they do work a little differently. Now, if your door is on a schedule, let's say it's set to be open from 8 to 5, and you lock it down at noon for some reason, it will not resume that schedule the rest of the day. Excuse me. you would have to go in with a door manual operation to unlock the door afterwards and then manually lock it that night. It will not go back on the schedule automatically. That is one downside or one caveat to using the global lockdown. So the first step is we're going to create an output group, come down to groups, output groups, hit the green plus just like everywhere else. Expand out, and I only had the one panel here to do it with, so I'm going to expand out my network, and then expand the panel, and I'm going to select, in this case, I selected all of the door outputs here to lock down. Now, if they're not locked at the time, that doesn't hurt anything. It's just going to send a command to lock all those. I mean, if they're not unlocked, excuse me, it's just going to send a command to lock them anyway. Once you create that, hit OK. Then the AC link, in this case, I'm going to use an input to trigger it. Now, there are some limits. You can only trigger certain things with certain inputs. And this is one, or with certain sources. This is one where it's got to be triggered with an input. You can't trigger it from a reader. So I'm going to select my input. In this case, I'm using an unused door monitor input. On contact closed, I'm going to define my panel. I'm going to select my output group, which was all my doors, and I'm going to drive them to idle. That means locked, as opposed to active or open, which is the unlocked state. And then select always down here and click OK. If I were doing this across panels, I would select open all outputs of output group. And what that does, that's where you can lock down the doors across multiple panels. It sends a command to the server, which in turn sends a command out to all the panels to lock the doors. The downside or problem with that is if you have any kind of a network glitch, the PC is offline, someone's shut down the service, it doesn't work. So I always recommend, rather than doing that, run one pair of wires. It can be the same pair. It can all be from the same switch. Run a pair of wires to each panel, set up separate AC links on each panel. So the panels run, autonomously. They don't need the server to process commands like that once they're created. And that way, if the PC happens to be offline, no problem. It'll lock down the doors. Now this is, in addition to locking down the doors, this next slide shows how to set the readers to a no access mode. So it all starts out the same, select the same input, contact closed, but there is no such thing as a reader group. So you're going to have to create an AC link for each reader that you want to disable. In this case, I've disabled reader 1. I said operation to enter no access mode, time zone always again, and OK. Now this is where you can start having problems if you have like an AC425 with an expansion board on it, or an 825. You can only do 8 AC links off a single input. So you might actually have to tie that input to multiple, or tie 2 inputs together so that you can trigger some of them from input 1, some from input 2, that sort of thing, if you've really got to build all these AC links. To re-enable the readers, this next one is just going to turn that around. Contact open is your event, and operation is to exit the no access mode. Now, as I said before, you can't do that with the doors because otherwise you would lock them open and there'd be no way to close them down except manually. So I don't include one to unlock the doors again because I cannot put them back on schedule, at least not today. Hopefully in a future release, we'll get that mode or that functionality. All right. This is the one I spoke about, redirecting a reader. This can be used a lot of different ways. I'm just hitting a few of the ways we can use AC links, by the way. I mean, there's other things we can do with them. I'm just trying to hit some of the more common ones here. So redirecting a reader, as I said, I can set reader 4 up to trigger output 3 also. so that I can do read in, read out, or something of that nature. So the only step here really is to create the AC link. It's very straightforward. Source type is reader. Source is the reader I'm trying to redirect. So in this case, I've set my entry reader up. Events, access granted any user, so any valid card read on that reader. Destination, of course, is going to be my panel, and my output is the output I'm trying to redirect it to. So in this case, I'm redirecting reader 4 to output 3, and I'm doing it on a timer. So it's just like if someone swiped their card on reader 3, it's going to trigger it for 4 seconds in this case. That's the default. And I'm going to set it for always. Now you could, if you had some reason to, you could also apply a time zone there. Typically on one like this, you don't. It's 24/7 because you're just doing read in, read out on a door. Okay. And ADA integration. And this is probably best to give us a call until you've been through it at least a time or two, because there's so many variations out there on how things work. But basically what I'm going to do here is show you a way to set up an AC link to trigger an auxiliary output along where it follows the lock relay to enable, disable your ADA opener so that you're not, nobody's hitting the button out there on it with the door locked and burning out the motor and the opener. Basically, all it takes is an AC link. Again, pretty straightforward. In this case, I'm just telling output 1A to follow output 1. So my source is output, my source is door 1, output active, and then my destination's panel 1, outputs output 1A on a timer. And you can set that timer to be longer, let's say, than the door unlock time, maybe to give them a little more time. Or if you're doing an ADA, you probably want to set the unlock time to be longer also, again, so there's more overlap, people have a chance to get the door unlocked. And again, you can have that active all the time, or you can, again, set it on a schedule to disable it during certain hours. So. Elevator control, I'm not going to get real deep into it, but it too makes use of AC links and output groups to control the access to specific floors. So your access group controls which readers your card is good on. So if you don't want somebody using an elevator, then you leave the reader in that elevator off of their access group. And once they're in the elevator and they've swiped their card, the output group is where it determines what floors get enabled when they swipe their card in the elevator reader for them to go to. So it is separate from the access group in that it actually controls which floors. The access group just controls whether they have access to the reader in the elevator at all. So the first thing to set up, or for, oh, wrong slide. Well, I did it again, guys. I'm sorry. Left a slide in there that I should have taken out. That's really all. That's really all I've got because I don't have the elevator control finished out here. I apologize.
No, that's right.
I started on it and I thought I had deleted all of them.
That's okay. It's good. Still good stuff.
Yeah, Larry, if I could ask, what has been some of the more creative ways of using AC links that you've seen people come back with?
One of the things people like to do is turn on the LEDs or the sounder in readers when a door gets unlocked. So one particular site, I believe it's in Arizona, they did a lot of wiring. They were using HID readers, and we can use ours now. They bring out separate leads. But they used a sounder in the reader up on a door. They had a remote open button for that door. And to let people know that the door was unlocked and also to let everybody inside know that the door was being unlocked, they had it also trigger the sounder in the reader. You can do the same thing with lights on the reader. You can control them independent of the the door lock status, if you like. But beyond that, really, you know, it all depends on exactly, you know, there's some very creative things that some folks have done that some cases got a little too creative, but that's
Right.
one of the common ones.
And that's what I was going to say also is, you know, as our always goes back to document.
Yeah.
Make sure you prepare proper documentation, because no one's going to remember 6 weeks from now exactly how you set it up or why.
Yeah, explain what you were trying to do. I mean, aside from just labeling wires and hopefully labeling the inputs and outputs on the panel, so we have some clue that, oh, this is going to the alarm system, for instance. Do some kind of a little description and stick it in the panel there, so the tech 2 years later down the road when things are not working, so we can get on the phone with him and at least have a clue what the logic was. Because I'm not going to remember. There is no way to truly document all of it in the software, you know. So we really need a clue. Otherwise, it's rip it all out and start over again. So,
Dave, and have you seen some guys use this in a real creative fashion over in your part of the world?
Oh yeah, I mean it's unfortunately, or fortunately, we're able to do this. The difficulty lies in what we're able to do competitive wise, and that's where people don't realize we have this ability.
Right. Yeah. I'll say it, but I mean, it's not a true if this then that scenario, but it is. You can really utilize it as a if this then that function, and this is built inside our software to use, you know, at no charge. And so I always tell people that you can, again, like what we talked about earlier, is you can create these custom actions inside the software, charge your customer, you know, a fair price, whatever that fair price is, and generate additional revenue from that. And your fair price for 10 minutes of your programming time may be hundreds of dollars or maybe thousands of dollars. I mean, it's really between you and your customer. And most AC links, what do you think, Larry, is written in less than 10 minutes, would you say?
oh yeah, I mean, you know, typical stuff, especially the easy stuff like the door automatic operations. Once you get that down, that's you spend more time creating the time zone than anything else usually.
Right.
But just to give you an idea of the flexibility of the AC links, I pulled up my live test system here. So this is just what the default screen looks like. It defaults to input 1, but you can select for your source type. You can select inputs, outputs, readers. I showed that one. Door. One of the other things I didn't go into, we do door alarms. So I can set it up, okay, on a door forced open, meaning a door was opened without a valid Rex or card read. I can have that also go trigger an output. I can trigger the sounder in the panel itself. And then car parking, which I didn't go into here at all, but we have a car parking module that can be used for counting credentials used, you know, counting people into an area and out of. And as you can see, one of the things you can do with that is you can trigger an AC link based on the area going full, and likewise when it goes not full again. So you can turn that on. Not only does it block people from getting in, but I can come in here, I can generate an alarm so that someone at a monitoring station would know that they have a lot full condition. I can also trigger an output relay to turn on a light, you know, lot full, go around or whatever. So there's a lot of options here. I did not go into nearly all of them. And on doors, as I said, we can do forced open, held open, and of course the automatic operation one. On readers, some of the other things, okay, access granted any user, bell button. The The bell button on our readers is also known as the star, and we can actually set up a very simple one here real quick. I can use the sounder in the panel itself. You hit the star button on your reader, it'll ring a chime back on the panel, or you can run that output out to a true doorbell and trigger it. So, you know, there's a lot of flexibility in here off the readers, off of inputs. You know, on the readers, you've got a lot of stuff that I've never even used in the field, but anti-passback, for instance, you can have it light a light. You know, if someone tries to use their card too soon after the last card or something, you can have it flash a light, turn on a sign, that sort of thing. All right.
Yeah, I was thinking that we might even want to put together like a cookbook of things that solutions that people have come up with, have people contribute, and little AC links that they've written custom, you know, get everybody's creative juices flowing there, so to speak.
Yeah, I'll start trying to capture some more of them. But
yeah.
Well,
right. Larry, I really appreciate your time today. It's been great of you to share your knowledge there, and Dave, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to
No,
jump
you know,
in.
Larry, as far as doing the AC links remotely, you can still do it through the remote client, or you can still do it through your VPN. You don't have to be on site to do your AC
right.
links.
It's anything you can do in the client. You can do it from either a remote or when you're local on the server. Now, there's certain alerts and such that you actually have to do on the remote client so that you'll get the alert on that client. So the door held open alarms, for instance, or pop-ups. If you want to pop up on a remote client, you've actually got to go in and create that pop-up, define it in the software from that remote client. There's lots of other little things, and I didn't even think of that one when I was doing the presentation there, but there are some limitations like that also, or requirements maybe is a better term, where if you want it to pop up on multiple computers, you'd actually have to go define the pop-up on each computer, for instance. So,
right.
But you can control the doors from anywhere with AC links. You can create them from anywhere. That's not a problem. Okay.
Sounds good.
Everybody, I really appreciate your time today. It's good knowledge. I hope you got something out of it, and especially this early Monday morning. I know a lot of folks are out on jobs and so forth, but it is, of course, as always, it's available, and we'll upload it to our YouTube channel a little bit later today, so it'll be available for you on the YouTube side of things as well. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central, we have our webinar. I think tomorrow is on technical installation. Larry, does that sound right? The hardware side?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't forget to mark your calendars. We'll have the Zoom webinar tomorrow, again, 2 Central. And then we're looking at the date and time, the day of the week and the time of day, and might be making some changes as far as our Facebook Lives, possibly changing the date and or the time of day to make sure it's working well for everybody. But this is evergreen content. You're able to access it later with no trouble. Dave, do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope. I'm good to go. Larry, thank you for your time, and guys,
welcome.
once again, I'm East Coast. Just feel free to reach out to me, and as like Greg said, we'll be continuing on with webinars as well as Facebook Live series here as we go through these trying times. I do believe that even after we're kind of back to normal, we'll continue to do some of these, maybe not as frequently, but we have these available individually for your company. We also have these available with your distribution partners, excuse me.
Easy for you to say.
But we certainly can tailor these to meet your needs. If your company is looking for some more information, please reach out to us, and we'll make sure and meet those needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Larry, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that's it for the day.
All right.
If you have any questions about AC links, obviously give us a call on tech support. I really just meant this to give you an idea of what can be done, and certainly feel free to give us a call and we'll work through it with you. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your time today. Hope you had a good time, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we get into more of the technical side from the hardware perspective. We'll get open up the hood and really dive deep into the hardware of what from an installation perspective. So thanks so much. Everybody have a great day. Be safe, and let us know if we can help.
Take care.
all right, take care, everybody. Be safe out there. Bye.